Okay, so if you're one of those people glued to OpenAI's blog, hitting refresh, waiting for GPT 5.5 to drop, or if you've seen those insane headlines about a new AI that can reason in real time and never forgets anything, you really need to hear this. Most of what's out there, it's just speculation. But the truth of what's actually coming, well, that might be even more interesting.
I mean, it's easy to get swept up in claims like these, right? An AI that can hold a conversation for hours with perfect memory, that sounds like a total game changer, something straight out of science fiction. But is any of it actually real? Let's cut through the hype and find out.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to separate the real facts from all the clickbait. Then, we'll get our bearings with what today's best AI can do. After that, we'll dive into the credible leaks around this Project Garlic, bust some of the wildest myths you've heard, and finally, give you a clear verdict on what's really on the horizon.
First up, let's cut through all that noise. I want you to know exactly what you should and shouldn't expect from the next big AI release.
You know, before we can even talk about the future, we have to get a solid grip on the present. GPT 5.2, which came out in late 2025, is the current champion. And honestly, it sets a ridiculously high bar for whatever comes next.
And look, they were not kidding. This thing is just fundamentally better at the stuff that actually gets work done. You know, spreadsheets, presentations, and especially coding. This is the solid foundation that the next model is being built on.
But the real impact isn't just some number on a benchmark test. It's about what it does in the real world for real people. I mean, just think about that for a second. The heaviest users are getting back more than 10 hours every single week. That's more than a full day of work. That's a massive tangible impact, and it's all thanks to some seriously powerful tech under the hood.
And the secret sauce behind that crazy productivity boost? It really comes down to this number right here. This is the model's context window. And trust me, it's a game changer.
To put that in perspective, that's like feeding it an entire 300-page book and having it remember every single plot point, every character, every little detail. You can give it huge code bases or entire research papers without having to chop them up. So yeah, that's our very powerful starting point.
Okay, now let's get into the juicy stuff where things get a little murky. OpenAI has not said a word about GPT 5.5 officially, so everything we think we know is coming from leaks, and the most credible ones all point to this one internal project with a pretty interesting code name.
So, Project Garlic, remember that name. When you hear credible reports about what's next, this is what they're talking about. It is our best window into what OpenAI is actually building behind closed doors.
And what we're hearing from these leaks, well, it's pretty darn impressive. Insiders are claiming it's already smoking the competition like Gemini 3 on logic and coding tasks. The release is expected in early 2026, and the focus seems to be on getting way better at software development and math. And maybe the most interesting part? It was apparently trained on a smaller dataset, which suggests they're getting more efficient, not just bigger.
All right, so we have the credible garlic leaks. Now let's compare that to the wild rumors floating around, because this is where things get a little crazy. It is definitely time to pump the brakes and separate fact from fiction.
A 512,000 token window? Look, could the context window get bigger? Sure, maybe. But right now, that specific number is just a guess that's floating around online. It is not based on any solid leak that we know of.
Okay, this one is the big one. The AI that never forgets. It sounds incredible, I get it. But let me be crystal clear here. This is not confirmed. In fact, analysts have called this idea pure fiction. It's what people are dreaming of, not what's actually been reported.
And it's the same story for this real-time reasoning concept. The idea of an AI showing you its work as it thinks? Fantastic idea. But right now, it's a feature on a wish list, not a confirmed capability coming from any credible source.
So, if you strip away all of those myths and the pure speculation, what are you actually left with? Well, the picture that emerges is one of a powerful, practical step forward. A significant evolution, but maybe not the full-blown revolution some people are expecting.
And I love this analogy because it just nails it. We shouldn't expect a completely new type of vehicle. What we should expect is a bigger, more powerful, and more refined engine under the hood of the car we're already driving.
So what does that actually mean for you day to day? Well, for developers, you're probably looking at a much smarter AI partner for coding and debugging. For writers and other creatives, it could mean fewer weird factual errors and an AI that actually sticks to a style you give it. And for the rest of us, just sharper, more on-point, and more coherent answers.
All right, let's zoom out and bring this all home.
To really understand what's coming, we have to look at the competitive landscape, the lessons learned from past launches, and, of course, the healthy dose of skepticism from the expert community.
The big question is when, and all signs are pointing to early 2026. Why so fast? Well, just look at this timeline. The AI race is absolutely on fire. Google and Anthropic are making huge moves, and because of that, OpenAI is reportedly in code red mode to keep up. That kind of pressure drives innovation, but it also creates this immense need to deliver something big. And we've got to remember, we have been here before. The hype for the last major release was through the roof, but a lot of people, including experts like Gary Marcus, felt the reality didn't quite match. So trust is a little low, and you can bet the community is going to be scrutinizing this next model very, very carefully.
So here's the bottom line. For now, treat any super detailed claim as speculation. The safest bet is to expect a solid, incremental improvement, better coding, tighter reasoning, sometime in early 2026. This AI race is great for innovation, but it also leads to a lot of overpromising. So stay curious, but always, always check your sources.
The next step forward is almost certainly going to be a more refined, more powerful version of what we have today, an evolution, which really leaves us with the biggest question of them all. How many more of these evolutions will it take before we finally see the next true AI revolution?